Auzubillahi minash shaitanir rajeem. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum and a very warm welcome to World This Morning. I am your host Hajra Satti. Juma Mubarak to everyone out there. It's a warm, cozy day outside in Islamabad and we're really enjoying the winters, this transition into winters, but we are really missing the very cold winters because I do feel that this temperature is what used to be in the November. Obviously, we are witnessing a lot of climate anomalies this year and Pakistan is at the forefront of the climate change, but we will have the conversation regarding the climate change and all of these anomalies that we are witnessing. But Alhamdulillah for the blessings that we are living in Islamabad, one of the most beautiful, clean and green city which I would say exists on this planet called Earth. Now I want to talk about very interesting news about a company called Disney, which has been one of the biggest entertainment brands in the world. It is a conglomerate, it controls lots of other businesses, and we have witnessed that how Disney has shaped our childhood. Because there were lots of tales, there were lots of stories, there were lots of cartoons that Disney used to create for us, be it the Winnie in the Pooh, be it the Mickey Mouse, be it the Cinderella, be it the Snow White and whatnot. So the company Disney has been in the hot waters and it has been a tough year for Disney at the 2023, and now in this year what we are witnessing is, especially from the 1st of January 2024, the Disney will seize the rights to own the Mickey Mouse because the creator has a contract with the Disney brand that they can use the Mickey Mouse but for only 100 years. So those 100 years are coming to close in the year 2024, and the Disney or the Mickey Mouse cartoon or the logo which has been with the Disney ever since, with a tinge of the magic on its tail, will be not there. Of course, Disney can use that logo, but since the company has to pay for it because their contract is ending in 2024. So we have also witnessed that Disney has been in the hot waters, especially in this year, especially in the Florida with the governor Ron DeSantis about some of the cultural wars that were going on over the gender fluidity thing, and we've seen that how Disney has turned into a very woke sort of a company. And the very conservative Ron DeSantis did not like it. But of course, there are so many problems with the Disney right now, but that this logo thing is not exactly on their minds. But of course, symbolically, this logo is very much important because it represents and it reverberates across with so many people, with so many millennials, I would say, who have watched Disney, and not just millennials, also with the baby boomers, because Disney has been in place for more than over 100 years. And that's an interesting piece of information, and in the coming days we will see how this entire information turns out. Now when we talk about a childhood future, when we talk about how childhood fantasies and how to transition from childhood into an adulthood, obviously education is an important part of it, and we are going to talk about the education. So I'm really glad that we have someone in the studio who's going to talk about the career counseling thing. She happens to be Miss Shaina Saif. She is an educationist, she is a career counselor, and she is with the Roots. Assalamu alaikum, Miss Shaina. How are you doing today?
I'm good. How are you?
Alhamdulillah. So, Ms. Shaina, let's talk about the career counseling thing, and we've seen that nowadays there's lots of awareness regarding this concept, which was not there when we were students and we were, in our college and universities. So, how has this changed the entire platform, and what sort of changes do you witness nowadays?
So, I think lately there's been a boom in this industry of career counseling since you can say 5 or 6 years. People have a lot of awareness now, like in the masses, this awareness was not there previously. But now people are very much aware that they can go to international universities, get that kind of an exposure, get an international degree, and later shape their careers that way. So previously it was there since forever that people used to go abroad and study, but it was not this common, how common it is now.
Right. And obviously we've seen that lots of universities, lots of, I would say, schools are actually hiring career counselors as a job, I would say a job vacancy. But now let's talk about people or students who are interested in going abroad. So what sort of options they do have, and how to make sure that you get a scholarship, because obviously we're living in a third world country, we are living in a developing country, and we need finances to survive, and in which the dollar rate is fluctuating so much. So yes, please go ahead.
So talking about scholarships, if we talk about the US universities, there's a lot of trend of students going from Pakistan to the US universities.
Yes.
But lately, as we have seen the raise in the exchange rates, the dollar rate going up, the pound rate going suddenly way too up. So it is next to impossible for a working class parent to afford their child to go and study abroad. So what we do is we can apply for scholarships, but the thing is the US universities, they're very tricky when it comes to admissions and when it comes to scholarships. So you have to have a whole package of yourself, of your credentials, of your academics and extracurriculars and your SAT scores, and it's like a complete package. You have to work on so many things in order to be able to be applying for a scholarship. So it's a whole lengthy process. And then when it comes to the UK and the Canadian universities, they're not giving any scholarships. So you have to pay the full fee. And then there are options for Pakistani students, like they can apply to Malaysian universities, which have comparatively way less fee, and then they can have the international exposure over there. And the next fantastic education destination now is Turkey. So the Turkish universities, they're offering international level of infrastructure, the faculty, the facilities and everything. But the thing is, their fee is comparatively way lower than the US universities, and then they offer scholarships as well. And then the best part about this is being a Muslim country, the parents are very much in favor of sending their child to go and study over there.
Yes, of course. Ms. Shaina, we've seen that, like you mentioned, that US universities and the scholarships, they're so competitive that you have to strive to get that, right? And in order to stand out amongst so many applications that they receive every year, what can you do to grab those scholarships? What sort of skills do you think the students need to harbor in themselves, to polish themselves in order to make sure? Because obviously there are so many hundreds and thousands of applications. They're not reading each and every application. It goes into that artificial intelligence, machine automation, and then from that sifting, then it goes to the HR department, right? So what are some of the, I would say, hacks that you would like to tell out to your students to make sure that they can grab those scholarships?
So the first and foremost ingredient for a good college application is your grades. Your academics should be perfect. Good academic grades are the basic ingredient. A good SAT score is an addition. SAT scores for undergraduate programs is a must. Many people saying it's optional now, you can skip giving SATs, but I have seen that the students who have a good SAT score are given an edge over the students who don't have one. And then again, we can come to profile building. When it comes to profile building, I think that is one of the most major part of your college application, because I've seen students who might not have good grades, but maybe they have an excellent profile and they end up into a very, very good university. So talking about extracurriculars, what the universities want to see is what kind of a leader are you? Do you have that in you, that you can lead a certain number of people? Do you have anything that makes you stand out from the crowd? Like, I will give you one example. This year, we conduct these CAS classes every year, which is Community Action Service, and we guide our students about how to start a project of their own. So there was a bunch of kids who started, basically someone approached me and they needed help. They had a minority school in one of the areas in Islamabad. So I handed over that school to those number of students, so that they can work with them. And you won't believe, they actually transformed the whole school, from furniture to books to providing them with food and other facilities. They just transformed the whole place. So it is not only, you're not only building your own profile, you're providing back to the community as well. So we need to think on the broader perspective that this community service is not only going to help you with your college applications, but it's going to help your community get into a better shape as well.
Of course, it's rewarding for you on a personal level. And I think one thing that I would really like to reiterate here, and especially to all those students who are aspiring to apply in abroad to universities, is that a lot of time, and people when come to me, and I also counsel them that do not capture or try to write that, how disempowered you are here, because they are not looking for someone, and then you maybe want to trying to catch into the very distorted, version of women empowerment. Basically, if you write that, how much degraded you are here, so they might, pick you up because this is how they are doing things. No, they're just looking for the leadership qualities, because if they are investing something on you, if they are investing so many dollars, free of cost on you. So they want someone who can have those leadership qualities and who can champion those values that they are going to get from the West, from the abroad, and come here and implement them here, right? This is very much important, and make sure that you have all of these leadership qualities. So
I so agree with you, because our students mostly they're relying on the sob stories which they have.
Oh yes,
cooking up sob stories and making
cooking
themselves
up,
look
exactly,
making themselves look like they're living below
bitari
poverty
or
line and something like that, and
yes,
in a very bad environment. But the thing is, we live in a very
of course,
a good country, and we have a lot of facilities as well, and we should utilize them and show the positivity which we have. And I think the younger generation has that in them.
Right, right. They have them up. So now let's talk about building your profile. And you mentioned that community service is one of such things, because obviously when you're students, you do not have job experience, right? You require, I mean, and they're aware of the fact that you do not have the job experience, and your profile will not be as flashy as someone who has graduated or someone, you know, who has already worked. But how can you, apart from the scores, apart from the community service work, how can you better your profile in order to make sure that you attract the right sort of scholarships?
Maybe you're a debater, you're good at talking, you're good at public speaking.
Do you think sports give you an edge?
They do. There are several sports scholarships available.
Right.
Some of the students, they're very much into sports. One of my students this year, he was playing cricket on a national level.
Oh,
one of my students, he's studying in on a 100% scholarship in the US, and he was a national level badminton player here in Pakistan.
Oh, wonderful.
So this is how sports helps you. Everything does help you, but I always say that you have to be, you don't have to be the jack of all trades.
Yes.
You have to be the master of one.
Yes.
So if you're a master of one thing, and with your continuing for a pretty long time, and you have the continuity, and you have the mindset that you'll be working on it throughout, that really helps.
Right. And also now let's discuss and develop this conversation regarding the social media. And I see that a lot of students, because you are young, I think you are flying really high on your spirits. So the way you interact with the social media defines who you are, or at least it reflects on your scholarships or the personalities that you write, right? So how do you think that these students need to interact with the social media? Because a lot of time they're mindlessly writing stuff on the social media. They think it's their personal diary. It's not your personal diary, it's a public platform. Please be aware of how you interact, because one stupid thing you write on it, or one way you idly and very in a futile purpose you interact with it, and that can obviously reduce your marks or reduce your chances of getting a good scholarship, right?
Of course,
so please
I so agree with this thing, because not only the students, even our people our category and people who are working, they should be we should always be mindful of what we put on social media. So for the students, basically they are mostly looking for shortcuts. Students these days, they think that everything comes easy, and there are shortcuts for everything, but there are no shortcuts for anything. So you have to go through proper channel, and I think they should be very mindful when using the social media and not put any controversial stuff over there. Even I think some students a few years back, they were posting pictures of rifles and guns and stuff on their Facebook. I told them, please take it off. Because they're going to go through your, if they select you, they're going to skim through your social media as well. So please be mindful and don't post such things and controversial topics or anything.
That's very true. And now let's talk about, I think one of the things that we really need to deconstruct here in the education system, and I think which is also a symbol of a lot of elitism, which is these English language tests, the SATs, the GREs, the IELTS, and the monopoly that they have created. I mean, I'm really against it, because their validity period is very short. After 5 years, GRE expires. After 2 years, IELTS expire. And it is one of the most expensive tests, because you have to pay in their currency, either dollars or pounds or whatever, you know, the currency rate is. And so don't you think, you know, as someone who is representing Pakistan, as someone who is a representative of the global south, you need to make your voice heard, especially in the international forums, that, you know, you need to break this monopoly, because that is hindering the access to a lot of capable students who are in Pakistan, but they can't afford it because it is so expensive.
I know, these tests are just so expensive, and then the validity, you're very much right that the validity is really for less amount of time. But then again, I think with these tests, if you go with full preparation and you attempt it in one go, they're good to go. But then again, we should definitely raise a voice and go to the authorities, or maybe like we have Cambridge and British Council here in Pakistan. We should ask them. We should put up a petition, sort of a thing, that at least the validity period should be more than 2 years.
Right.
As for A-level students are concerned, mostly they don't have to give IELTS because they have been studying in the whole courses in English, and most of the universities, they accept our English proficiency letters. So IELTS is not for the, mostly not for the A-level students.
Right. And I really don't get this concept that, I don't know, after 5 years your English don't expire, right? Or maybe it gets better, but it is not, I mean, degrades in that way. But obviously, we need to deconstruct this entire elitist concept of the knowledge production, where they're hindering the access of students towards getting the better opportunities, and there are lots of talented students in Pakistan, right? So now let's talk about lots of culturally proximate societies. So for example, students who want to apply abroad after their colleges or the universities. You talked about the cultural proximate societies like Malaysia, like Turkey, which have the same culture like the Muslim countries, and students do not have to face that very strict dichotomy of haram and halal, especially in terms of consuming food. What are the other options in terms of having the access towards the education? And I've seen Turkish universities, I do feel that they're expensive because their fee product for the international students is exactly the same as international universities, and I don't think so they are giving that much of a better education as the US universities are doling out.
So basically, the Turkish universities, the fee is comparatively lower.
Okay.
And then to Pakistani students, if you have good grades and paired up with a good SAT score, then you can even end up getting 100% scholarship from them as well. But then again, we have options, so many options in Pakistan as well, which we don't tend to explore, because I don't know why there's this mindset these days that we have to go abroad for studies. But then again, if you look at the universities here in Pakistan, we have several good options as well. And even in Islamabad or in Pakistan, there are several universities who are providing you with the UK universities at a very minimalistic cost here in Islamabad as well. So this is how it is. But then again, there are European universities as well. And what feedback I get from my students is that at the university level, because there are students coming in from every culture of the world, so there is not much of a difference, and they hardly face any differences or difficulties in that regard. And people are very welcoming. This is what I've heard.
Turkish people are very, what do you call it, warm people.
Not only Turkish, I'm talking about the US and UK universities as well.
Okay, yes, of course. Now let's talk about, because one last question before we wrap up this question. Obviously, when students, so lots of students, they aspire to go abroad because there are lots of benefits of that. Like you mentioned, you meet, there's a melting pot of different cultures, you get to experience differences, diversity there as compared to Pakistan. But this, for the students, number one, who do not have that opportunity or who do not have the required number of resources to go abroad, what are the options in terms of good Pakistani universities here? And secondly, students who return back from the abroad, there is a massive amount of the reculturalization, I think, process that they have to go through, because their values have somehow adjusted and they have assimilated into those societies, and then they don't get the jobs, and then the standards are so much raised. How to get them assimilated back into our own culture, because obviously their standards are so raised that, I mean, when they're not getting jobs, so they might get a big disappointment in the first.
The disappointment is there, I agree with that. But the thing is that most of the students, they should be realistic enough that even after a 4-year degree, you don't have that experience which a senior over there has.
Of course.
So they should keep a positive mind that you have to start from scratch. No matter what degree you have to start from the starting point and get an experience. And as we talk about Pakistani universities, if you say in Islamabad, we have NUST, we have FAST. FAST has the best computer science and engineering program in Pakistan.
Right.
And then we have LUMS in Lahore.
Right.
But for LUMS, you need to have good grades and you need to have a good SAT score as well. They have a basic requirement of SAT scores and a good grades. They have a very high
approval
grade rate and SAT score rate. Then we have IBA Karachi, mostly students from Punjab or Islamabad. They're reluctant to go to Karachi,
of course,
because it's really far and parents are not very comfortable. So in Islamabad, we have several other options as well, and there are universities like Roots Ivy who are providing London-based degrees over here in Islamabad. So that these are options yet to be explored, and people should keep their minds open that if you're not willing to send your kids abroad, you should at least avail the local options that are available to you.
Okay, so one last question is that how do you explore what interests you? Because I think you are so confused about the different streams of thoughts that you interact with, I mean, in your environment. So how to identify what exactly you want to study? Because a lot of students, I think they do not select the desired amount of the subjects, and then they end up in the wrong subjects, and obviously then they are, I mean, very grumbled about it.
So basically this is the core of career counseling.
Okay.
This is what you're talking about. The subject selection is such a critical part of your journey. We as career counselors, we have the initial talk with the students.
Right.
So it's that one-on-one talk from which we determine that whether he's capable of studying sciences or social sciences, or what are the actual interests of the child. So basically this is how we judge from one-on-one interaction. The more you talk, the more the students open up.
And what are some of the questions that you ask? So for example, if our viewers are listeners, especially the students are listening, so what sort of question do they need to ask from themselves in order to get a more better understanding?
To be honest, there is no set pattern of any questions. They have to be very, very generic. Like a general discussion with them. What do they want to do with their life? What interests you? What kind of a field that they want to study? So I think there's been a recent change in the parental community as well, that they're very open to subject selection.
Right.
Previously what I saw was they're very rigid towards the sciences. Nahi, sciences, no. You're going to study sciences no matter what.
Engineer or doctors,
and later they can switch their field, but now the students are taking English literature as well, they're taking history, they're taking social sciences, and they're happy with it.
Right.
As far as the other things are concerned, I think they get managed, but the basic part of your journey towards any degree, towards any jobs or anything is your subject selection.
Right.
So the better understanding of a subject that you have to choose it, no matter how much sciences attract you or your family.
That's very true, and thank you so much, Ms. China, for being here, for enlightening us about the career counseling, about what sort of subjects you need to choose. And I think one important thing and one important, I would say, hack that I would like to illuminate here on my show is that go for the subjects and see how their subjects are further subdivided into the semester system, and that's where you will get an fair idea what you want to be and what sort of subjects sparks your interest. So with that, we will wrap up this segment, and we will once again say thank you to Ms. China for coming here, for being our guest, and for having this very wonderful conversation. And after a break, when we come back, we have a very interesting discussion lined up, so don't go anywhere. Good morning. Welcome back, and before going on to the break, we were talking about some very amazing conversation regarding the career counseling and how students need to be in tune with their self to find their inner calling and to convert that into their academic studies. And obviously, it's a difficult task because you have to work a lot on yourself. But now we're going to talk about someone who is doing a lot for the humanity, who's doing a lot for the Pakistani. He is part Lithuanian, he is part Irish. He was born in America, but he's living in Pakistan, and he loves Pakistan so much that he has so many projects which are unfolding here, helping the society here. And he also speaks very amazing Urdu, and I'm really amazed at the way he has assimilated in our society. I'm very glad that we have been joined by some amazing gentlemen. He happens to be Mr. Todd Shea. Assalamu alaikum, sir, and thank you so much for coming to our show.
Wa alaikum salam. It's really an honor to be here.
Thank you so much. So you do have an amazing NGO called CDRS, right? And it stands for Comprehensive Disaster Response Services. So what exactly is that about? Please enlighten our viewers about it.
Well, we've been here for 18 years over, since Zalzala 2005. And I have about 110 employees at the moment. We have worked in every disaster of Pakistan. Currently, we have our main projects, of course, in COVID and the floods of 2022, we did huge missions.
Right.
Working with Pakistani American doctors, with APNA and Islamic Medical Association of North America and other partners. But we also have a couple House of Blessings for widows and orphans. And in the new year, we'll be opening one in Lahore.
Wonderful.
We have one in Karachi and one in Islamabad. Then we have a water project that has over 750 water projects all over Pakistan, from Gilgit-Baltistan all the way down to Karachi and in between, that do reverse osmosis water filtration and hand pumps and all kinds of other water projects, depending on what's needed in Pakistan, because
Wonderful.
Pakistan has such a diverse
Yes.
geology and
Yes.
climate,
Yes.
and depending on where you're at in the country, so they have different needs of water. And then we have an animal welfare program, the Benji Project,
Right.
which is in Lahore, Islamabad, as well as Karachi, and one in Skardu. And that is dedicated to the humane and Islamically permissible depopulation of stray animals, especially
Right.
dogs,
Yes,
through
yes.
the Trap, Neuter, Vaccinate, Release program. We vaccinate for rabies, and then they do the spaying and neutering so that we don't have more unwanted, domesticated,
Yes.
abandoned animals on the
Yes,
streets.
Yes, yes. That's amazing. And there's this concept, because before going on to this show and before the red light went on, we were discussing in the break that there's a concept called canine mini-me. So lots of people who go and who want to adopt the dogs, who go and buy the dogs, they want to buy a dogs which resemble their qualities. And dogs are one of the, I would say, most loyal animal, because they give you love, they give you support, they give you companionship when you need them, and they have some amazing, I would say, intuitive sense, because they really can sense if their owner is coming from a very far away, right? So you are a dog lover, you are a nature lover. What sparked your interest in the Benji Project?
Well, I mean, I love all animals,
Yeah.
and I'm actually, I guess you can say, more of a cat lover, even though
Oh.
I do love dogs as well.
Okay.
So in Pakistan during the earthquake of 2005, even back then, whenever we would see a stray animal, we would help it or try to feed it, or if it was injured, we'd take care of it. But we started this program formally just 3 years ago in the formal sense.
Right.
We had an opportunity, a donor, Pakistani-American donor who loves animals, wanted to give for the animal welfare situation in Pakistan. So we started the Benji Project in order to not only rescue animals that needed it, but also to bring the population of the stray animals down
Right.
in a way that was, caring for the animals. And so with our project, even if somebody doesn't like animals,
Right.
then they'll love us, because you love animals. Then with us in our program, we would see less animals on the street,
Right.
And we're one of many
Right.
organizations doing this work, trying to do this work. But everybody is starting to try to appeal to those who don't like animals, that doing the depopulation in the humane way
Yes.
will bring the blessings of Allah.
Yes.
If we shoot and poison them,
Oh my
then
God.
this is going to bring punishment of Allah. And the thing is that what people don't realize, I think, enough, is that dogs were created by human beings.
Oh, really?
Yes, because wolves were created by Allah.
Oh, interesting.
And then we took wolves in. Over
Right.
thousands of years, they domesticated and became separate from wolves. We
Oh.
made them into dogs by breeding them for, just as you say, the qualities that we wanted. Like
Right.
this concept, like some people wanted them because they're cute little dogs, so they would
Sweet.
breed them in that direction.
Yes.
Then others wanted a guard dog, or for hunting, or
Right.
for their smelling. That dogs can smell 1,000 times more strongly
Right.
than human beings. So
Yes.
and they can find things, they can track
They're
things.
super sensitive, yeah.
So all of these qualities that different dogs have now resulted in many different breeds. Tiny little poodles that are cute,
True.
and giant Great Danes that are, guard dogs, and German Shepherds, and all these big dogs, right?
Right.
That are good for hunting. And so all of these different, then there's bloodhounds that are good for
Yes.
tracking and
Yes,
searching for things. So you have all these different varieties. That was from human interference.
That's true.
Then we later abandoned them to the streets. So
Oh
we
my
are responsible under Allah's plan.
Right.
He's looking at us saying, well, you took them in and made them into dogs and bred them, and now you've abandoned them onto the street. So
Right.
now human being society is responsible. So
Right.
these dogs on the street, their hearts are literally broken, because in their very DNA is they want to be with humans. So every day they get rocks thrown at them,
Oh
they
my
get
God.
mistreated, they get abused, people don't care, indifferent to them. So they're very sad and heartbroken. And most of the dogs on the street are not vicious or going to attack anybody.
Of course, they're just, yeah.
They're just abandoned,
Yes.
and they need somebody to care for them. If we care for them, then we will benefit and get the blessings from Allah in many different areas of life besides animals. If we don't take care of them, then I'm afraid that we will be, literally the problem will come back to bite us, as it does. Too many dogs on the street leads to bite cases, rabies. It
Right.
leads to barking all night long. It leads to people and children and people walking to prayers or to the masjid
Yes.
or going to school to be accosted by dogs that are, because when they're free and on the streets and wild, they start acting again like their ancestors of wolves. So they pack up together. They can be very menacing to children going to school. So these are the kinds of things we need to think about.
Yes, that's very true, and thank you so much for incorporating the religious and cultural practices into your strategy of making sure that we protect the dogs out there. And I mean, how can someone not love dogs, because they're such a sweet creatures, and I do feel that whenever I'm interacting with the dogs or whenever I'm interacting with the animals out there, they have this wonderful capacity that they absorb lots of your negative energies. If you're feeling down, if you go to a dog, and it will turn you around, turn your mood around so much that you feel so much great. And they are super sensitive. They have amazing sniffing qualities, and some of the dogs there also can sniff out if you're feeling if there's any medical problems inside you. So the dogs are also cancer resistant, right? They can detect cancer inside you. And obviously the important fact is that they are the creature of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, so we need to be more mindful of how we interact with our environment, and particularly the voiceless, the voices that are, I mean, roaming around in the streets. So now, sir, let's talk about another of your initiative, which is called the House of Blessings, which is an orphanage, I guess. And tell us about how is it going, how did the idea came into it, and what sparked your interest, especially, and why serve, or why choose Pakistan particularly to roll out these humanistic, I would say, endeavors inside our country?
So when I first came to Pakistan, there was no plan of staying in Pakistan. It was, I came with a group of Pakistani American doctors to be their logistics coordinator. After 2 weeks, they went back, but they asked me to stay as new doctors came. And I said, sure, I'd love to stay through the emergency. So after about 6 months of staying during the emergency phase, a lot of foreigners were going back. So I think a lot of the people that I worked with, that we became like brothers, became like family.
Wonderful.
And they asked me to stay. People in the Pakistan Army asked me to stay, UNICEF, people in the villages, people on my team, other doctors that were volunteers. I was asked to stay by many different people.
Right.
So it was actually a friend in the Pakistan Army who was a brigade major and a couple brigadiers. They actually helped me to register and got me, because I didn't know how to register in Pakistan, an organization. So they actually helped me register an organization, and that's when I thought I'll stay for maybe a few years.
Right.
But as time went by, the more I stayed in Pakistan, the more I felt at home here, the more I fell in love with the culture, you know, the Kana, the mountains, the children.
Right.
It's a fascinating and magical country, so it just led me to coming here. And then that led me to developing this NGO and doing more work. Finally, about 4 or 5 years ago, one of my employees wanted to help orphans. And I said, well, we do logistics and disasters and we do water projects, but I don't know if we are experienced enough to take care of orphans. And so I said, okay, let's try it. So for a year, we did a pilot project and it went so well. What our program is rather than having like an orphanage with, you know, as many kids as we can bring in, what we have is single mothers, you know, usually orphans with their mothers, the widows. So the widows and orphans, we take them in and give them a home like a normal home, like and give the children a normal childhood. Give the ladies who are often uneducated and from villages, give them some skills, give them some trainings, and give them counseling and for the trauma that they've been through, having lost their husbands, having been alone and not having enough money and being in poverty. And the children who often were so poor they couldn't go to school, or they were behind in school, or they were too traumatized by their life to even learn properly. So a lot of the kids were behind in school by several years when they came to us. So we're very proud of the fact that by what we saw originally was these kids that, and the mothers, they looked very sad and withdrawn and not very social and you know, depressed and traumatized. And we would see these kids open up like, you know, like you see a dying flower. You give it water, you give it sunlight, you give it good soil with nutrients, and you see the flower blooming. And we saw this in the children, how they woke up and how they came alive and how they got ahead in their studies. And we have 2 young men now who were boys who were very behind in school. Now they're at Fateh Jang Cadet College and they're in high level in their class. Like one is like number 2 in their class. So, and they don't take boys there just because they're orphans. Only on merit. If you pass the test or not. So we're very proud of that fact. We have a couple of girls that have gone into university, and we're just, you know, we're so happy to have this program that now we want to expand it. So we're working with Touchstone Communications. We work with Mary Petroleum. We work with Avanza Solutions and Abyss Solutions, companies working here in Pakistan who are corporate donors and work with us as CSR so that we can expand these kind of projects and do more of them and have a greater impact, because whatever we cover, there's so much more need. Like when you talk about the animals and the single mothers and their children, we only can help a drop in the bucket, right?
That's true.
And there's so many. So we want to expand and help more animals that right now we don't have the budget to help. And with the CSR, with the corporates, with the people of Pakistan, I think we can do a lot. We are also certified by Pakistan Center for Philanthropy, which is an amazing organization that certifies nonprofits in Pakistan against the international standards. So we've proven ourselves.
And that's amazing, the initiative that you have taken, and especially talking about how there is always a need to do more, because your need never is, I would say, stratified. So when we talk about Pakistani food, and I think one of the reasons why British came in subcontinent was of the spices, because Pakistani food or the South Asian cuisine is very, very spicy, and later they turn it into the colonization project. But when we talk about Pakistani food, which is your favorite Pakistani food? And do you find our food very spicy?
Well, I've gotten used to the spices now after 18 years.
That's
but
wonderful.
I mean, I love Pakistani food. You can see, I came to Pakistan about 100 kg.
Okay.
And now I got up earlier this year to 155 kg.
Okay.
And
so
now,
which particular food are you consuming a lot?
Thank God I'm down to 139 kg, and I'm trying to go down with, being careful, not too much bread and rice, sugar, things like that. But I can tell you that there's so many favorites.
Right.
I love barbecue. Okay. I love keema.
Okay.
I love biryani, which I have to slow down on biryani.
Yes, we own biryani a lot.
Of course, the malai boti, chicken tikka.
Tikke and nihari and whatnot, right?
Yeah, and I really love makka ki roti.
Makai ki roti, oh, that's wonderful. Makai ki roti with saag. I don't know what you call saag in English, but I mean, this is one of the, I would say, the food that I lay a lot of claim to it, because it is so yummy, and especially if you couple it with the desi ghee or makhan. I don't know what do you call it in English, because I think these are our Pakistani, particularly innovation, cultural cuisines, and they do not have a counterpart in English. But Mr. Todd, I have received this valuable information from my producer that you can also sing a Pakistani song. So before we wrap up this entire segment and bid farewell to our dear viewers, because this is the last program of this year, and inshallah on Monday we will come back and return back with a new energy, with a newer year and with newer resolution, and we would like to bid you farewell to all of our dear viewers out there. Until next time, it's a goodbye. But Mr. Todd Chia, I would like to thank you for coming here, and I would also like you to wrap up this segment with an amazing Pakistani song, because I've been told that you are a very great singer.
I don't know how great I am, but I'll try my best.
Oh,
I usually have my guitar, but I'll sing it.
Sure, go ahead.
ऐसी ज़मीं और आसमां इनके सिवा जाना कहाँ पड़ती रहे ये रोशनी चलता रहे ये कारवां दिल दिल पाकिस्तान जान जान पाकिस्तान दिल दिल पाकिस्तान जान जान पाकिस्तान दिल दिल पाकिस्तान जान जान पाकिस्तान दिल दिल पाकिस्तान जान जान पाकिस्तान